When you're making a major decision in life, if the first question that you ask is what will other people think about me, that you're not living, you're performing for acceptance. Coaching shows me I didn't necessarily choose it. So when I'm faced and when I'm asked all the time from up and coming people that want to get involved in the business, how do I get into the business? It's the most difficult answer to give. Because that story, like, no one has that story.
Welcome to Raw Mind Sports, where we dig into the minds of athletes and sports fanatics. I'm your host, Ryan Primetime Jones. If you have a love and passion for sports, then this is the show for you.
Welcome to Raw Mind Sports. It's a great honor to have Levelle Moton, the head coach of North Carolina Central University, on my show today. He's going to talk about all his accolades, the greatness he's had brought to the Eagle territory. So let's start off first, Levelle. Well, let's talk about your childhood and what you've been through to make you so great to now.
Yeah. I don't know exactly where to begin. I was born in Boston, raised in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I lived in a housing project in Boston, and we relocated to a housing project here in Raleigh, Lane Street. And it was the typical housing project, man. It was, a difficult time because it was during the inception of crack cocaine, which was dividing families and also recruiting young kids my age to sell crack cocaine. And, he was faced with a lot of challenges and difficulties. And every decision that I made as a child was a matter of life and death. So I was fortunate because I had a hardworking mother who kind of instilled the values in me, and I knew right from wrong. But she also had spies and lookouts in the neighborhood to make sure we were doing what we were supposed to do. And it's been a huge part of my upbringing, man. I'm thankful for the childhood that I've had, even though it was a lot of difficulties at that particular time. I understand now why God used me and took me through those circumstances to prepare me for who I am and what I have to encounter on a day-to-day basis now.
So let's talk about, you were saying that during the crack and cocaine era, did that pressure you to do the things that your fellow friends were doing back then, like to start the selling, or did it kind of wake you up in a certain manner?
Yeah, man, it was real. And I think this is one of the things, and I hope it's one of the things that my team appreciate about me. When I'm telling them and giving them life lessons, I'm giving it from the vantage point or the perspective of, I was dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I'm not coming at you perfect. I'm the most imperfect human being, probably the most imperfect coach in the country, man. And there were times that I contemplated, but I was fortunate because, and I didn't contemplate, let's clear this, I didn't contemplate because it was a hobby or because I wanted a Maybach or, a Lexus or whatever it was happening at the time. I contemplated because my mother was behind on her rent. And my mother cleaned houses for a living, and that hurt me every single day, man. And it does something to a child to see his mom come in that door, struggling, but yet doing all that she can. And I wanted to help her, and I knew taking a package of dope from one block to another could enhance her way of life. And I was willing to do that. But fortunately, I had some OGs in the neighborhood who found out about it, and they put out word, and like they called the meet, and I remember it like it was yesterday. For statute of limitations, I don't want to name their names, but they called the meet and they said, listen, if anyone put anything in this kid's hand, if you surround him with anything that could possibly deter his future, his consequences and repercussions, right? And I was fortunate for that. And I had a great group of individuals that helped raise me, because when you're coming from those circumstances, you need help.
Man, that's tough discipline, and it was a good thing that you had those guys behind you to kind of make sure you stayed on the right path. Speaking of the right path, let's talk about your career playing basketball yourself. The career they pretty much basically told you that you need to stay on.
Right.
Let's talk about that.
It's really ironic, man, because I've always felt like God has just kind of taken me and steered and navigated me through these situations. It's funny that you say that, because basketball wasn't my favorite sport.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was a much better baseball player. I enjoyed baseball a lot more. And then I was a quarterback in football. So You know, I wanted the physicality. I wanted to be able to hit people like little wild, crazy boys. So baseball and football was my thing. And, you know, basketball, I had to work at it a little more. It wasn't as natural. And it was somewhat of a challenge. And, you know, it got to a point where I ultimately had to choose one. And I'll be completely honest, I chose it because the girls like basketball players more. So I was
Raw Mind Sports.
Hey, you know what? I was like, look, I'm going over here because she ain't see me throw these touchdowns the other night. You know, like, which one were you? You got the helmet? Like, okay, nah, I'm not going through that no more. So I had to really settle and figure out which one and choose. And I chose basketball, and I haven't looked back since.
Wow, I see that you was a McDonald's All-American nominee, and you was probably by far one of the best players at Enloe. Let's talk about what your coach instilled you at Enloe, and after you decided that basketball was your thing, what was the pursuit that you had in it?
Man, I really didn't pursue until, I'll tell you the moment that changed my life. I walked into the boys club. I think I was in 6th grade, and I saw a bunch of Pepsi trucks outside. I thought they was just restocking the machines. And as I walked into the gym, everyone said, man, you got to enter this competition. It was a Pepsi Hot Shot competition going on. I was like, what's the Pepsi Hot Shot? And they explained it to me. And I was like, nah, that's corny. I'm not doing that. And they said, look, the winner of the competition gets a 2-liter Pepsi. And I was like, oh, sign me up then. So I signed up for it. And, you know, I had to shoot at 5 spots in a minute and make as many shots as I possibly could. And once I finished, everyone bum rushed the floor saying, yo, this kid set a record. And I wasn't even concerned with that. I was like, yo, what's up with that Pepsi, man? Like, that's what I got into this for or whatever. Forget your little records. And I got the 2-liter Pepsi, but what I didn't know was the following weekend I had to go shoot in the state championship. And I was in Charlotte, and I did that, and I won it. And then what I didn't know, the following weekend after that, I had to go shoot in Atlanta for the South Atlantic Region Championship. And I was facing a kid that was the three-year consecutive running champion. And I defeated him. And this was at Georgia Tech in front of 5,000 people. And what I didn't know from that moment was the winner of that competition was going to go shoot at halftime of the Bullets and the Bulls game at the time. They're the Wizards now, but it was the Bullets back then. And I flew into D.C., and now I'm seeing these monuments and memorials in the White House and all these things I've only seen in the history books. Because remind you, I'm from the projects. Like, we stay in this 4-block radius, and that's our life, and that's that. And the first order of business was meeting Ronald Reagan, the president at the time. And I shot at halftime. I ended up winning on national television, man. So when I returned to the hood, I'm like a hood legend. You know what I'm saying? At 10 or 11. But it changed my life. It was the first time I knew that my abilities could take me out of the housing projects. And I was extremely grateful for that. And now I'm focusing more and more on basketball, and I go to Daniels Middle School at the time. And when I'm coming out of Daniels Middle School, I have the option. I lived right on the borderline of going to Broughton High School or Enloe High School. And the coach, I'm getting recruited by all these high school coaches or whatever. And the coach at Broughton at the time said, man, if you come here, like, it'll be your show. We need you here, blah, 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 blah. And the coach at Enloe was like, you can come if you want to. I don't chase no players. But I had heard how strict he was because I had a brother that was 5 years older. And he had played under him, and everyone knew. And, like, this dude was, like, tough, stern, disciplinarian. And I had a choice to make. Do I go to Broughton or Enloe? And I chose Enloe because I knew that was what I needed, and I wanted to be challenged in my life. It's the best decision I ever made because he fulfilled that fatherhood vacancy that I had in my life. And he taught me things because I had never had a man tell me, I love you. You know, none of those things. So you're lacking that as a child. And the thing about being a child growing up without a father, you develop your own definition of manhood. And it's completely wrong, but you don't understand that until you become a man. Right. You know, so he made us pull up our pants on our waist and wear a belt. And he made us, he taught us how to dress to be addressed, and, you know, just have respect for ourselves, our families and women, and, you know, just going in the classroom and being twice as good, and all these valuable lessons that I use and try to instill in my players to this day. I learned from Frank Williams at Inlow High School. So it made it so much easier for me when I arrived in college because I got that when I was 12 years old. Like that was easy. And to this day, we keep in contact, man. And I made it through. I made it through the gauntlet. And everyone didn't make it through that gauntlet. And it molded me and shaped me and helped me become a better man. So I'm extremely fortunate.
Seems like you had an early start in life with great advantages and disadvantages to make you to the person you are today.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about your coaching career now. Let's go into where you first started to now.
Again, another irony to it. And I don't like calling it irony or twists or coincidences. Like I just call it's literally God saying, look, I'm going to use this kid right here because I know he ain't going to go work in a pop factory. So I'm going to use this kid, keep him around the game of basketball, and allow him to educate other kids and help them and instill the manhood principles in them. And I was playing basketball overseas, and my former coach offered me a job to be an assistant coach on the Division I level at $85,000 a year. At the same time, my favorite 7th grade teacher in the world is now a principal at West Millbrook Middle School. She says, well, it's a vacant position here. I would love to have you coach. But she said, the problem is it's only $225 for 3 months. So I'm calculating this. I'm like, hold on, that's $675 a year. So I have to decide by Monday, do I want to take the $675 job or do I take the $85K job? And I just prayed about it, man. And I called my mom and I said, look, I'm going to take the middle school job. And she was like, what? I said, yeah, I'm going to take the middle school job. And I took that job because I knew in my heart of hearts that I didn't want to get into this for the business of basketball. I didn't want to get into it for the glitz, the glamour. That wasn't me. My first time I ever touched the basketball, I took a bicycle rim, knocked the spokes out, put shoestrings in it, and me and my brother, we knelt it to a tree. That was our basketball goal. And we did that for the love, not for a Maybach, not for a big house, not for nothing, simply because we loved the game and I wanted to coach under that same premise. And what I've learned from that situation is when you're making a major decision in life, if the first question that you ask is what will other people think about me, that you're not living, you're performing for acceptance. And I never wanted to perform for acceptance. And I was comfortable in doing that because I never mattered to anyone anyway, because I was over here in the housing projects. So no one cared about your voice, no one cared about your struggles or your challenges. So now that I'm getting involved into corporate America or, my career, why you care that? So I did that, man, and it's the most important decision I ever made in my life. And I did that for 2-3 years. And then I started coaching AAU basketball. Then I had all these basketball camps. And I started developing these relationships with these young kids that were the up and comings, the John Walls, the Dez Wills, Rodney Purvis, PJ Tuckers, you name it. Then I feel that, again, the irony, the coincidence. I was bored with middle school, so I filled out a couple of applications to go to high school. I'm getting these rejection letters from high schools. Leesville, Millbrook, Wakefield, all sent me a rejection letter, said, thank you, but no thank you. We don't think you qualified for the job. My 10th grade French teacher is now the principal at Sanderson High School. She calls me in and says, I believe in you. You're a special dude. I'm going to give you this job. And I'm thinking like, what's so special about me to you? Because when I took your French 2 class, I had a 59 in the class. That ain't special. She thought I was special, crazy. But what's so special about that? And she gave me a job. So I did that for a couple of years, and then now North Carolina Central's calling me. I declined to attend. I declined to come back to North Carolina Central. I said, I'm not doing it. And Kathy Moore, who's now the superintendent of Wake County Public Schools, she called me in her office and she said, you have way too much to offer to this world outside of Sanderson High School. You need to go back to North Carolina Central. And that's why I ended up at North Carolina Central. And people don't know that. And I give them that story because out of 350 Division I coaches, I never desired to be a coach. I didn't want to be no coach. It just kind of, coaching shows me I didn't necessarily choose it. So when I'm faced and when I'm asked all the time from up and coming people that want to get involved in the business, how do I get into the business? It's the most difficult answer to give, because that story, like, no one has that story. So like, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Just pray about it and follow your passion.
Right. Let's talk about, apparently, your coaching and what God put into you. Apparently, He put you into the right spot, because you became, I want to say, the fastest coach to most wins in MEA history, or the quickest coach in 3 years to MEA history. What did that do to your confidence and to your coaching abilities?
Well, I never lacked confidence in myself. You know, it's always interesting, man. And I just told our kids this at practice. Like, you know, my grandmother was a really spiritual woman. And she was in church 7 days a week. I ain't talking about no Sundays. I mean 7 days a week. And, you know, one of the things that always dawned on me is, like, it tripped me out. You had people in church that could memorize and quote scriptures all the time. But then when something happened to them, they lacked the faith or the belief that was necessary to get them to the next point. And I'm like, my grandmother always told me, like, if you're going to serve an extraordinary God, don't think God intended for you to be ordinary and He's extraordinary. That's a disconnect. So the genius thing that I've done is believe in myself when no one else did, because I had to. You know what I'm saying? So that was that 5-year-old kid that had to make it through the projects every day. So that didn't stop because I got to this level of coaching. People look at this like this is pressure, or it's pressure to win a game. No, that's not pressure. Man, I've been walking through crossfires of shootouts. That's pressure. My mother not knowing if food gonna be on the table, that's pressure. Not knowing if the light's gonna be on, that's pressure. Winning or losing a basketball game, that ain't no pressure, man. So I never lacked the confidence of it. I just knew the key to everything was having good people around you. So I had to go get the best coaches I could possibly get and the best players that I could possibly get. And that's a great team. And they'll help you win games. It's not really difficult. It's really that simple. And you not only do you have to believe in yourself, but you have to get people that believe in themselves as well. And now when you meet together and come together as a force, the impact that you can have, not only on that particular game, but just on the season, is monumental. And that's what we've been able to do. And that's how we've turned the program around, because I have really good players that listen, had really good coaches that coached extremely well, and we became a force of nature. And now when we walk in opposing teams' arenas, we expect to win. I don't care who we're playing. You know, whether it's NC State or Missouri or whoever, we expect to win too. We work just as hard as y'all. You know, so we're not giving away basketball games or just going there to be the whooping kid. Like that's not in my DNA. You know, I'm not gonna ever compromise that.
Is there one kid on your team that you may say has the Levelle Moton DNA, or is it everybody on the team?
Nah, my mom taught me a long time ago, because I was struggling with figuring it out, you know, when I started coaching. She said, let me tell you something. Like, she was my soundboard. I would go back and vent to her. And she said, these kids don't play the game for the same reasons you play the game. And right there, I stopped comparing them to me. I stopped comparing their hunger to me. I played the game because it was my way out. It saved my life. I wanted it to provide a better way of life for my family, because I wanted my mother to retire. They're coming from entirely different backgrounds. Some of them have mothers and fathers. Some of them may play for different reasons. Some of them may play, some of them may not love basketball. They love the perks that's associated with it. You know what I'm saying? So it's so many variables that these kids play the game for other than mine. So what we do is we put them through a vigorous week called Hell Week. And it exposes if you love the game or not. And if you love it, it'll show. And if you don't, it'll show. And what it does is it allows your character to be on Front Street. So now we know what we're dealing with. And it's cool if you don't love the game. Like, a lot of people don't love it. A lot of people like it enough, but we try to recruit kids that love the game, because we know that's the only thing that's going to get you through on this daily grind, is the love and the passion for it.
And that's interesting. That's interesting. We got another thing for you. let's talk about the things that you do in the community, and also what do you expect or to inspire others in your breaking, and especially let's talk about your book, because you have a book.
Did a book, The Worst Times Are the Best Times, and the toughest thing about the book was the title. The story was easy, because it was my story. But just coming up with a title, man, you try to think of these catchphrases and these one-liners and I had a guy by the name of Ed Robinson who co-authored the book with me, and I was telling the titles. He was like, "No, that's corny. That's whack." And in my mind it made sense, but when I told him, I was like, "Yeah, that sounds stupid." So it was just the title of the book, man, and the book kind of wrote itself. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a goal of mine to write a book. I didn't try or attempt to be a New York best-selling author and fabricate these things, man. I just really wrote a book to a kid that was my 8-year-old self. And I wanted it to inspire those kids, because I know there's so many kids out there on that journey that's having to live the journey that I lived in my life. And the book really took off, and it really took off with mothers. Mothers was reading it and passing it down to their children, because it had something in there for everyone. And it was 12, 13 chapters of imperfection. So in every book, and I did it kind of in a coaching style. I wrote the story. Then at the end of every chapter, I had a breakdown and a takeaway. What do I want you to take away from this chapter? And we called that like the locker room segment. So it was really interesting, man, and it really took off. And I'm fortunate that I had the support and backing of some incredible people.
Let's talk about the Mother's event that you had, and how successful it was, and what are your plans for the future in it?
Man, I do a single mother's event every year, my Vale Cares Foundation, where we honor 150 single moms throughout the Triangle. And I do that. I don't want to be the guy that just show up to the event and my name is on it and I really don't know what's going on and I'm just there as the poster child. I really developed the event myself. And again, it goes back to my mom, where I said probably when I was 19 years old, if I ever get an opportunity to get a platform to help single moms, I'm going to do that, because you have no clue what they go through. I'm fortunate, I'm blessed, to be married to an incredible woman. And one day when we have 2 kids, one day she left and said, I'm going to the store. And I think my kids at the time was like 5 and 1 or something. And she said she was going to Target. I'll be right back. So she went to Target and I don't hear from her in an hour. So now my ego is kicking in. These kids are driving me crazy. Like the 1-year-old can't tell me what's wrong. The 5-year-old is going crazy. And I'm like, So I got too much ego. And then she called, she said, you know what? I'm going to go to Walmart, then I'm going to go to the mall. Are y'all okay there? And my male ego says, yeah, but inside I'm crying like, girl, when you coming back here? You know what I'm saying? So she done went to Walmart and the movies and went and got something to eat. Now she going to get her nails done. So she gone all day. And I got these kids, man, they driving me crazy. And I'm sleeping. I can't even take a nap. And I was like, yo, if this is what you go through on a day-to-day basis and you married, I can't imagine and we've been able to have some decent resources for our kids to live in. I can't imagine anyone who don't have the resources that we have, how they grind it out. So from that, a single mother salute was born, man. And it's a beautiful event. And we honor the mothers. We gave away over $30,000 worth of prizes, man. So it's been great, and we do it every single year. So the thing is to continue to do that, to continue to impact the community, to let people know that you care and to be a blessing to others. That's why God blessed me, to be a blessing to others. He ain't blessed me so I can be like, all right, I holler at y'all, let me go over here. And like, that's whack, that's corny. I always wanted to help people, man. And my style of leadership and my style of, just my personality is a servant. I just want to serve people. I just want to serve and help and assist people, because somebody always told me, you never seen a U-Haul following a hearse. And I ain't never really know what that meant. But when you leave, you can't take this stuff with you, man. So the house and the cars and whatever, That's what it is. Like you are ultimately defined. Your legacy is defined about what you've done for other people, and that's the impact that you made. And that's what I always wanted to do.
I agree. And my conclusion to Raw Mind Sports here with Levelle Moton, he's the definition of being genuine, and anything is possible. You heard this story here on this episode that he said that he had to go through multiple obstacles. It wasn't easy, and I feel like anybody in life, no matter the obstacle, you can make it. No matter the obstacle, you can make it. If you put your mind to it and you know where you're going, and with God's will, he's going to point you in the right direction. He even said he took a middle school job compared to a job he could have made $85,000 a year. Most people in the average world would have took the $85,000 job.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So with that being said, that lets you know that sometimes you're going to have to right away go to your goals. Sometimes patience is key, and it'll lead you to his goals. That's why now he's here at a D1 college, coaching basketball. Probably the best coach in their history. Not saying he'll say that, but I'm just saying he's probably is, in my opinion. And that alone lets you know that no matter the test, you can always pass it, as long as you stay focused. With that being said, I appreciate Levelle Moton.
Man, thank you guys for having me, man. It's an honor to sit down with you, man.
I appreciate it, man. And again, man, I can't wait for your successful year because I know you have it. You got a few guys returning from last year, young guys, that'll be back.
Yeah.
So I know it's gonna be fun for you.
Yeah, man. We it's that time of the year and it's exciting, man. So we'll see. I told the team we're not defending anything. Like we're trying to compete to go get. I don't want us having the attitude of we're defending champions. No, we're not defending anything. We're trying to go get another championship, and that's the standard around here. We don't shy away from it, and we work hard on a day-to-day basis to achieve that.
The man that leads this Eagle Nation to the promised land. You guys have a nice day, nice night, nice morning, whatever time you watch this episode. See you later.